Want to get too close to this male and disturb him, so I'm going to try to squeeze through this little gap here quickly. Or we could just sit here. I see the rest of the pride up ahead a little bit, but let's just going to try. Yeah, there they are. Oh, and the cubs are there. The cubs are there. Fantastic. Let's move a little bit closer. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, you can see they've definitely fed on a lot. This male's still got a lot of blood in his mane. If you look off to the left here, I'm going to continue moving around, just see if we can get a view of the rest of the pride. Try to position us so we can see they all seem to be lying out there in the open. And there's the buffalo carcass here. Some of them still feeding. Hold on a second. Oh, wow, look at this. Oh, and all the little cubs are here. That is incredible. This is so exciting. This is the first time I've seen these cubs. You hear those growls. That's exactly what I heard as you drove up. Could hear that growling. They get very aggressive around a kill. Might be some interaction with this male and female. Let's see. So Georgie Ann has just sent through a question whether or not I have had any close calls with lions. So Georgie Ann, touch wood, and I don't want to jinx anything yet, but in all my years of guiding and going to the bush, I haven't yet. And I've tracked lions on foot many times and found them and viewed them on foot a few times. But I haven't had a close encounter just yet. Also, I think you always just need to be very careful, very aware, understand their behavior, and not try to get too close and not disturb them. Then generally the animals don't mind you. Oh, do you see that? See how that female reacted to that male? He is definitely interested in that other female. Really wonderful just to hear all these sounds at the moment, all this growling. Wow, look at that. And as I mentioned, even though this is a pride and these lions are most likely all related, and they do kill and work together to provide food for the pride, they still get aggressive when they are feeding. And the reason for that is because there's still survival of the fittest. It's instinct. They still need to make sure they get as much food as they possibly can. So they do still get or become aggressive with each other. This is a large pride, and I know most of our viewers all know this Nkuhuma pride, and it's wonderful to see them all together, but it's incredible to see how quickly they can devour a buffalo. There's very little left of that carcass from the looks of it from this angle. So Jason has asked us a question about that male that we first saw when we drove in. Oh, look at them scratch each other. Oh. See those claws, incredibly sharp. So getting back to Jason's question, Jason would like to know, why is that one male lying so far away from the pride and the other male was a lot closer and following the female? So Jason, there could be a dominance difference between those two males. Perhaps this one that is closer is a bit more dominant, and that one that, let's see if we can see him, is lying through. Oh, there he is, just lying down there. And there he is there, sorry, yeah, cleaning himself. So I think what possibly is going on is just that the other male is a bit more dominant, Jason, so that's why he is following a female. And what usually happens is with these coalitions, there is a hierarchy, and the more dominant males will be able to mate with females before the others do. And I think that's possibly what's happening. As you know, we saw yesterday, we saw the one male mating with the female, and perhaps that is what that male is trying to do, is trying to mate with that female. Even though there are cubs around, I'm not exactly sure on the dynamics at the moment which females gave birth to which cubs. There could be one or two females that didn't give birth to cubs, and those are now the ones that the males are trying to mate with. But because of the hierarchy, that one is probably a bit more dominant than the other, and he isn't being allowed too close. But he's also probably fed and is moving away. There's also a lot of flies around these carcasses, and that occasionally the males don't like that. So it could be a number of reasons, but I think probably because of dominance. Chris has asked a question about how many cubs are with the pride at the moment. Chris, I'm going to have to have a good look quickly. I'll just get my binoculars out and have a scan around. So I can see 7 at the moment, Chris. So 7 cubs. Is there one by the male? Is there one by the male on that side? 7, 8. So if you haven't seen the other one, so 8 cubs. And I think that's all the cubs here. There are only 8, I believe. There we go. So all the cubs are here. So Judy Lord has asked, would some of the lionesses or one of the lionesses become aggressive with the cubs at a kill? So Judy, watch. There we go. That kind of answers your question a little bit. Look how that female was reacting to that cub. It's a little aggressive. It's a little sign. She wants to show that that she's obviously feeding and she doesn't want the cub getting in her way. But it doesn't happen often that the lionesses actually hit or hurt the cubs. I've seen males do it, and males can get very aggressive around a kill. So females are always very nervous when they have big dominant males around and there are cubs, because the males, often they forget their own strength, and if they swat or swipe a cub, they can easily kill it. So with males, they've got to be very careful. The females generally will show signs of aggression, but they don't necessarily hurt the cubs, from what I've seen in the past. But you never know. I mean, again, I always say that the bush is very interesting. You can read as many books as you like, and oh, there's another little snap. And you can think you understand animal behavior, but you'll always see something that will shock and surprise you. There's no rules out here. Getting a few little raindrops, oh dear. This is really an incredible scene. These lions feeding, the thunder and lightning in the distance. There's a lot going on here. But while these cats are on the ground, Taylor's got a cat in the tree apparently. Isn't that amazing that Taylor managed to find that leopard with a kill? That's very, very interesting. I'm curious to know who it is. And perhaps I can go have a look this afternoon. We're still sitting with these lions in Nkuhuma Pride. There's still a bit of feeding activity. But, oh, look at that, playing with the tail. These cubs are very cute at this age. They're very inquisitive and very playful. It's wonderful to watch them. The weather is changing again. I know Taylor's had to try and put on her rain covers. Myself and Viam are contemplating whether we should duck and dive the storm. Hopefully it continues. It looks like it's moving east, and hopefully it just misses us. But we may have to get covers out soon-ish too. But no drops just yet, so it's too soon to panic. But you can see the wind and look at those clouds building. Might get some lightning out there soon. As I was saying just before we crossed over to Taylor, what an incredible scene this, just with these big clouds in the background, the lightning, the vultures in the trees around here, and the lions feeding on a kill. It's a perfect setting. It really is a perfect setting. So Tara Ray has asked us a question. I think this is linked to the other question we had earlier about whether or not the lionesses attack cubs or get aggressive with the cubs. And Tara Ray would like to know, if the lioness attacks a cub, will the mother of that particular cub get involved? So Tara, yeah, I think what I've seen in the past is that that the adult female, who is the mother of the cubs, is very protective, and she will most likely step in. However, what usually happens is, because these lionesses often look after a pride together, they will all look after the cubs. Some of the cubs may suckle from various females, not necessarily just their mother, and that is usually why females try and come into estrus around the same time, so that they're able to look after the cubs together, and they've got a better chance of raising a pride of cubs if they all work together and are able to suckle the cubs at the same time. So in saying that, if one female gets aggressive with one cub, it's probably seen as a lesson that the cub needs to learn, and there might not necessarily be any interaction or any interference, rather, from the mother of the actual cubs or one of the other lionesses. I mean, you can hear there again. There's still a lot of growling. Listen to that. Hear that. And some of those growls are the cubs, the deeper growls, obviously the females, but the cubs make an incredible sound from an early age. They really can get very aggressive around a kill. Safari Shay has just commented and said they don't even sound like cubs anymore. Yeah, exactly. So Safari Shay, you're 100% right. Even from a young age like this, they get very aggressive, and they sound, the voice box and the sounds that they're able to make are incredible. We are starting to get a few more drops here, and this is starting to worry me a little bit. I think so Taylor is still putting on her rain covers and that, but I think what we're going to do is we'd also like to give some of the other guides in the area a chance to view these lions. What we're going to do is we're going to move out quickly. We've had a wonderful view of them. We're going to head south and probably try to avoid some of this rain. So let's see if we can move out quickly, but what a wonderful sight. Probably going to pass that one male again on our way out. You can always come back later again. Oh dear. The joys of trying to get Land Rovers in and out of tight situations. Eventually you get the hang of it. Here comes more rain. It's all happening now. Jim has asked a question if I've ever had a vehicle break down in the bush before, and I wonder if this isn't perhaps a good friend of mine and a guest, Jim Friedhofer. I'm not sure if it is you, Jim, because we had on a trip recently, we had our vehicle not quite break down, but we did get a flat tire, and we had to change the tire very quickly, and we have had and the odd little situation where we've got stuck before. While I try to get out of here, we're going to have to put rain covers on. Taylor, I think, has got hers on already. Go see what she's up to and get an update. Yes, we have put our covers back on. Thanks, Taylor. I don't know where you say it's warming up or where you are, because it still looks quite ominous around us. Very dark clouds, and it is clearing up a little bit to the west. So hopefully it stays away. We've managed to come back into these to this lion sighting. Now all our covers are on, and there's still a bit of feeding activity, so we didn't want to just leave just yet. You can see that little cub just playing with the tail, and again, there's just that inquisitive nature of the youngsters. I mean, there's not much food there for it, but playing and licking and carrying the tail around is a bit of a game for them, I would say. You can see that definition in those lionesses' shoulders while they're feeding. Incredible how muscular they are. You can actually get a little bit of a whiff of that carcass. The smell is drifting towards us. So I just got a question from and I hope I'm saying this correctly, are you Kristen? And she would like to know do these predators know if the animals have diseases, the ones that they are hunting or killing, and if that puts them off feeding on them? And not necessarily. And one of the diseases that the animals carry around here, and especially the buffalo, is a bovine TB, so bovine tuberculosis. And a lot of the buffalo in this area do have it, but the lions still feed on them. Occasionally it can affect the lions, but not to the extent that it causes death. You might find when they get older, you do pick up signs that they are sick and they have contracted it. But for the most part, they will still feed on the meat. So I don't think they necessarily pick up on the fact that the animals have got diseases, and they will still feed on it. At the end of the day, for a lot of these animals, because they're so opportunistic, food is food. They can't pass it by. They can't leave it. The little one still with the tail. And I know sometimes it's not always easy to watch animals feeding on another animal, but again, this is nature, and we are here to observe and to appreciate these animals and their behavior, and to see how animals behave in their natural environment. And this is completely natural. There's no interference here. There's absolutely nothing. These are wild animals, and they have to hunt. They have to feed a pride. And the other thing is, we need to remember, occasionally the buffaloes get one back, and I've seen buffaloes attack lions a number of times, where the herd moves together to chase off lion if the lions are hunting them, and occasionally buffalo do kill lions too. So there's always a balance in nature, and we need to remember that. Just interesting to watch them feeding. Now, one of those lionesses, and if you look at that one especially, she's tilted her head a little bit. She's chewing with the side of her mouth. There, you can see that clearly. See that? So the lions and all big cats have got something called a carnassial shear. So the teeth at the back of the mouth, and the molars and the premolars, actually end in a sharpened edge, and they overlap slightly. And that acts as a scissor motion, and you can imagine all the jaw muscles right at the back of the mouth. It then makes it easier for them to chew, tear, and feed on the meat with the side of the mouth, with those teeth at the back where all the power is. And they can really cut through the meat. They'll use their front teeth. You can see that lioness at the back. She's doing it at the moment. She's using her front teeth to get into some hard to reach places and maybe tear the carcass open a little bit better. Those are the sharper teeth that she'll use for that. But then when she is actually feeding and chewing, she'll probably use that carnassial shear, or those teeth at the back of the mouth. Very interesting to see them actually feeding like this. See, that lioness is after something specific there. It's got beautiful eyes. So Calvin has asked us, how big was this buffalo that these lions killed? Calvin, I'm not too sure. I didn't see when they brought it down yesterday, but I caught a glimpse of the horns earlier, and it did look like it was an adult female. So I will see if we can see more of the head, but I think it was an adult female, so that's quite large. That's a large kill. But then again, there are 8 cubs. There's 4 females, 2 males. There's a lot of lions here. So there are a lot of mouths to feed, and they can get through a buffalo, as you can see, very, very quickly. So Warren has asked a question about these little cubs and if they chew on the bones or the horns when they are teething as young cubs. And Warren, they most certainly do. I think to sharpen the teeth a little bit, and when those teeth are coming through, they'll find, oh, look at that. That little cub has its claws stuck in the mouth. Ooh. Wow, did you see that? But notice how the female didn't actually swipe back and hurt the cub. Very interesting. So Warren, I think, yeah, the cubs will definitely chew on, and I've seen them chewing on pieces of wood and sticks when they are younger. And I think that's probably part of their teething process, you know, when those little sharp teeth are coming through. And definitely on the bones, and as we saw that other little cub feeding on the tail. So yeah, definitely. And Dustin would like to know if the lions also eat the bone marrow. So Dustin, in some of the bones, the smaller bones that they're able to crunch through, they'll feed on the entire bone. So yes, they do feed on some of the bone marrow. And if there are bones that have been exposed, that have maybe been broken, and there's a bit of bone marrow that they can get out, they will definitely feed on it. Around cartilage areas and that too, they'll feed on some of that. And the joints, so yes, they would. Looks like our weather's passed, which is great. It's definitely moved off. The sky is starting to clear up a little bit. But there's a wonderful smell in the air. This beautiful rain smell, the rain hitting the earth. And it's known as, it's an interesting word, known as petrichor. And petrichor is the smell that you get after the rain. When the rain hits dry sand, you get that wonderful, wonderful smell, that aroma in the air of water on the earth. And we can smell that at the moment. And you can see there's clear sky. It's cleared up. It looks like the storm's moved, which is, to be honest, I'm a little upset about, because I was hoping that we'd get some rain. It would have been lovely to have a bit of rain around. Actually, it needs to rain from about 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock during the day, just between game times. That would be perfect, or during the evenings. So you never know, we could still have some rain at some point. It's building, slowly but surely it's building. You know, in sightings like this too, it's often just really wonderful just to be able to watch and observe these animals, the different interaction. The cubs are doing something different. There's some lions feeding. There's a lioness scratching herself. There's one moving off. There we go. She's just moving around. The males have moved off a little bit. The one is still lying further back. these lions are starting to settle down a little bit more now. The bellies are quite full. There's one or two still feeding there, but I think pretty soon they're going to finish up and probably rest. Luckily, there is a bit of water in this dam close by. I think what we are going to do is we're going to leave these lions now and see what else we can find this morning. And while we do that, and while we move out of the sighting, why don't you get an update from Taylor and the mysterious leopard she's got in the tree? So we've just moved out or away from the rest of the pride, but we bumped into this single lioness and the other male, the two of them that we think are potentially mating, and I think this is exactly the pair that we saw yesterday. It does look, it's definitely the same male, and I think it is the same female. It's a male with a very bad scar on the face. You can see it's amazing how these males get into these fights, and you see those scratches and scars all over the face. You know, even with the brothers, even though they are brothers and they patrol the same territory, you know, we saw with those lionesses feeding, if they get into carcasses and they are feeding, or if their females around, they get very aggressive with each other, and they always try to establish who's more dominant, so they do fight a lot. And you see those serious scars on the faces. So Dayton has asked an interesting question about the males and how aggressive they are, and whether or not the males would turn on each other properly or seriously, not just for food. So Dayton, what I have seen in the past, and I've been fortunate enough to see many different coalitions move into and throughout areas and chase off other males and from other coalitions. Males that are in the same coalition very seldom turn on each other. And the reason for that is because together, a large coalition, so anywhere between 2 or 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 males, they're just more successful together. They are able to keep out other threats, other male lions, so it makes sense for them to stay together. So from what I've seen, generally, the males in the same coalition, they don't get aggressive with each other. They tolerate each other and they stay together because they know it is beneficial for their survival and for their territories. Whereas if these males bump into males from other coalitions, as I said, then you can get some serious fights, and these lions often end up killing each other or chasing them out of the territory that they are in and taking over that territory. Strength in numbers, that's basically what it comes down to. It's still nice and cool this morning, and I think that's why these lions are still lying out in the open. There's no very harsh, or there's no harsh sun beating down on them, so it's nice and cool. They can lay out in the open. So we've been very fortunate with our lion sighting this morning. Feeding activity, cubs playing, bit of growling and interaction at the kill, these two wandering off. I was chatting to VM earlier, and he was saying it's incredible how lucky we've been with all the lion sightings since this Nkuhuma Pride has had the cubs. They've been seen just about every day, and that is fantastic. We really are very, very fortunate. It shows that this Djuma area, and that is ideal for them. They're able to hunt. There's a lot of food, there's water available, so it's a perfect territory for them. There's no need for them to extend their territory or move further or move away from this area. You can hear beautiful orange-breasted bushshrike calling. That's my impression of the orange-breasted bushshrike. So I'll see if I can do my orange-breasted bushshrike call again. You can just hear it in the distance. It's beautiful, beautiful call. Yeah, I heard one calling back, so maybe my call's good enough. And it looks like these lions are very comfortable and resting now. Not too much activity from them. We'll sit here a few more minutes. If there's nothing left, then, or if there's no activity, then we'll probably move on a bit. But I wonder if Taylor has managed to work out who that leopard is yet.